Welcome back. I'm J.R. Snelzer, the Executive Vice President of PSA. And I know there's been a lot of questions out there by many people regarding some of the aspects of international salons. So I thought I'd take a few minutes here of your time to try to explain exactly what these are and answer many of the common questions. A lot of questions regarding what are international salons, what are they good for, what do I need to know about them? And so I thought we'd take some of these questions and try to answer them for you. PSA, the Photographic Society of America Worldwide, sponsors a lot of international exhibitions, contests, salons, whatever you want to call them, by providing guidelines for the different countries, clubs, or organizations to put these on. Any given month, there might be 20 or 30 or more exhibitions from around the world. And these exhibitions are decided by the people who put them on, what categories they want to have images submitted in. And those categories, again, would be, as I mentioned in the previous video, they would be either color open, which is usually some sort of pictorial image, pictorial color and pictorial mono are two different categories. We also have nature, we have photo travel, we have photo journalism, and we have 3D. There's actually some print salons also. So those are all things to keep in mind. Many of the organizations might even have a specific topic under one of these. For instance, they might have under color, pictorial color, landscapes or people or portraits. So you need to read carefully what they are. So let's talk about some of the questions that you have. So you're a new person, never entered a contest in your life. How do you join a salon? Well, salons are open to anyone. And I personally highly recommend them as a way of getting to be a better photographer. One is that you're being critiqued or judged against other images that are in there. And two is you get to see some amazing photographs from other people from around the world. And each month on the web page for PSA, there's a complete listing of all of the salons or exhibitions by date. And you can click on any one of them that gives you their website. They all have a website. And when you go to the website, it'll tell you the rules that go along with each of those particular salons. It sounds complicated, but once you find that you understand one salon, they're all pretty much the same. I would highly suggest that those people who want to become better photographers actually enter some of these international salons. So the question comes up, if I'm not a member of PSA, can I join a salon? Absolutely you can. These salons are open to anyone. The issue or the problem is that if you receive acceptances and you're trying to get ROPA, recognition for photographic achievement in PSA, these will not count towards that until you are a member. Now, I know some of you that are here may have already entered salons and have quite a few acceptances, and you're thinking, oh, I'm going to lose all of them. PSA actually has a buyback program that you can retroactively join PSA, and those would then count towards your ROPA distinctions. That is done through our PSA headquarters, and you can contact them directly if you have that issue. But you do not have to be a member to enter and to receive awards. So I hope that answers your question. Are they considered competitions? Yes and no. Yes, they are a competition because only a certain percent, usually somewhere between 20 and 30% of the entries are accepted into the salon. And so in that sense, they are a competition. But in reality, you are not competing against every other image that's in there because they're usually judged one at a time and they're not all looked at first. But yes, many people consider it a competition, just like you would in a club. Must I submit a range of photos in various genres like portrait, travel, photo? This is entirely up to you. For instance, if you are entering in a travel category, I would highly recommend you have 4 different, because you can enter 4 images in any of them, 4 different travel images, rather than take 4 images of a camel in the desert and different places, because the results of that are you're actually competing against yourself. The same thing is true if you're taking landscape images. Don't take 4 landscape images of a mountain range and put them in, because you are basically competing against yourself. Put in maybe a mountain, maybe a wheat field, or maybe a river, those kinds of things, so that you have a wide diversity of images. Plus, it shows how diverse of a photographer you really, really are. Do the copyright of my pictures belong to the salon? No. You retain all rights to the images, except that you will need to sign a paper that allows the organization Salon and PSA to publish them on their websites, because they want to show the world what has been going on. But you retain all rights to the image, other than allowing the salon organizers and PSA itself to publish them on their websites or other documents if they so desire. What is the purpose or advantage in entering such salons if not for the prize money? Well, you know, I have entered a lot of competitions with prize money, and I've spent that money, and I have a little tiny certificate that says I did something and nobody knows about it. But when I enter a salon and I work on ROPA and I put those letters behind my name, they stay there forever. I mean, people will always know that I've been there. In 1996, I won an international photo contest, and the prize was a trip to the Amazon, and it was wonderful. But no one today even knows about that, because that was past and gone. But my ROPA distinctions remain with me. And I see that as a recognition that I've earned over the years. Don't understand the concept of salon and how the points are accumulated. How do all the acceptances from various salons get up by section? Okay, it's not quite as complicated as it may sound. When you enter a competition and you enter a category such as color open, monochrome open, nature, photojournalism, photo travel, 3D, you are allowed 4 images in each of those categories. And when they are juried or judged, you will either get them accepted or not accepted into the exhibition. And you might get all 4 in, you might get 1 in. And so each exhibition, you will have a total number of acceptances, and you keep track of that. There's on the webpage for PSA, there is a spreadsheet that explains how to keep track of those. And when you've accumulated enough acceptances, then you can start to obtain your ROPA distinctions. The first simple one is QPSA, and that requires 75 acceptances across the board. So it's a good way to get started in the process. There's something else while we're talking about accumulating points and things. Each of the exhibitions also provides medals and ribbons, which are another way of being recognized. If you win a gold medal, a silver, or a bronze, or an honorable mention, you get special recognition. Each of the salons also is required to publish a listing of all of the winning images and all of the acceptances. So your name and possibly your images will also be shown internationally that way. So that's another great thing that happens with a salon. Okay, I had a bad experience in some circuits where the EDOS, which is the records that are kept at headquarters, are different from the report cards I received from the circuits, and I have acceptances missing. we understood that there's a process where the salon may not get the right number of acceptances sent back to our reporting records at headquarters. That's the EDOS. And what happens is, if that's the case, you can either contact PSA directly. We have a person now assigned to issues related to this, and we can direct you to that from the headquarters, or you can contact the salon director themselves if that's the case. So we now have a process for that. As you may or may not know, we have been transitioning from one type of recording system to a new EDOS, and we're slowly catching up. We hope to have everything on EDOS within the next several months so that all of your acceptances are there and you can move forward with your ROPA distinctions. I hope that helps. How are photos judged? Well, they are judged by talented judges who themselves have been either judging for quite a while or have a long list of recognition that they've obtained over years, and they are judged against themselves. And they're based on criteria that we as individuals may or may not agree with. Remember that photography is not necessarily a hard and fast subject. It has a lot of issues with how do you judge. One judge might give it a 10, the next judge might give it a 7. And so we have to be prepared for that. That's why we have 3 judges for every category. And the judges themselves then average those out and hopefully give you a score that is acceptable for that particular image. Again, it's based on, for instance, in color and monochrome projected, it's based on the aesthetic value of that image and how nice that image is or aesthetically pleasing it is. In nature, photojournalism and photo travel, it's a little different. There, it's based more on the content. Is it more, does that image show something about human nature? And it's not so based on the aesthetics of that image. So you have to be aware of that. I always suggest people who are starting to go to some of the past, because you can go to the PSA website and go to closed exhibitions, open them up, look at their catalogs and see what kinds of images are winning. And that might explain a little better about those differences in judging. As I mentioned, the judges are usually 3 international judges who have many distinctions and who have judged internationally. I have been judging internationally for a while now, and I know several great photographers who are doing the judging also. So they're usually highly respected, and hopefully they do not come with any type of bias when they're looking at it. And so we do not certify judges as PSA, but we encourage people who have spent a lot of time getting their ROPA, their recognition for photographic achievement, into the judging process. How much photo allowed? Okay, this one has been coming up for quite some time. There's a lot of questions about this, and let me try to explain in a simple term. If you are in photo projected image color or projected image monochrome, you may do as much or as little editing as you wish. The editing, however, must be from all of captures that you have made yourself. And you may not use art that you've purchased online, like stick figures, or if you purchased a sun from someone. It has to be your own images. You are allowed to edit those as you wish. And as you look at some of the catalogs from past exhibitions, you'll see quite a bit of this. Some are more, some are less. Now in nature, photojournalism, and photo travel, this is a whole different area. And I believe that somewhere along the line here, Nadia is going to do a presentation on photo travel. And you may even have one on nature. because in those categories, you are not allowed to make very many changes. You can take dust spots off. You can crop. You can add a little bit of saturation, but the image must look real, like you saw it. You can't do dodging and burning. You can't do image movement. You can't add things to it. You can't remove things from it. So those are in nature, photo travel, and photojournalism. So keep that in mind as you work through this. Can I have a watermark on my photos for the salon? No. You may not have any writing of any sort, your name, watermark, or anything on the image. Your name will appear in the box below your image when you submit it, but it will not appear on the screen when it is being judged. So the judges are judging anonymous images. They do not know who the maker is, and you may not have any watermarks or any written dialogue on your image. Is there a cost for joining the salons? What should I expect from participating? Yes, there is a cost for joining the salons, and it varies. PSA does not regulate that. We give some recommendations. It's based on how many categories they have. For instance, they might have one category, color projected open, one. So that's probably going to be less than one that has 4 or 5 categories. Something that's happening right now is that there are salons that are moving them from one country to another country to another country. And they call that a circuit. So you may enter a salon in Sri Lanka and it'll be judged there. And then it goes on to India, and then it goes on to Saudi Arabia, all as one exhibition or salon. So you will actually have 3 different judgings for your images, and that cost will be a little higher because there's going to be 3 countries or 3 different or 4 different or sometimes 5 different entries in there. So it depends. I can't give you an exact cost, but it depends on where and how many entries you have and how many circuits there are for those salons. Do you need some qualifications to participate? Yes, you do. You have to love photography. That's the only qualification you have to have. You have to love photography and be passionate about it and love what you're creating. And all you want to do is share the images that you have and share them with the world. And that's what this is all about. What are the requirements to participate in a salon? There's not many, other than the categories that I mentioned earlier, what you are allowed to do with them or not allowed to do with your image. You can enter as many salons a month as you want, or as many as you prefer not to enter. The requirements are always have a size. When you enter, there'll be, when you get the requirements for each of the salons, it'll say how many DPI it'll require, what are the size of the image that you need to that are required, and you have to format your images to meet their requirements. They're not universal because different salons have different requirements. Today, almost all the salons are judged on large LED screens rather than being actually projected. And that way, there's less cost and less energy involved in doing that. So keep that in mind as you prepare your images. So my suggestion is when you choose a salon, the first thing you want to do is look at their image size requirements. They're spelled out there in the information. And then size your images to that size, and then you can enter them into the salon. Is a gallery that I can view some winning images? Absolutely. As I mentioned on the PSA website, under exhibitions, you'll see past exhibitions. If you click on that, you'll see all the exhibitions that have happened in the past, back to 2018, 13, I don't even remember when we started doing this. And you can click on that, and they will always have a gallery of the winning images and a list of the acceptances. So that's a great way for you to see what's going on. When you enter an exhibition or salon, and if you get an entry an acceptance, or if you get a winning image, yours will then be in there. And that's why you retain, as I said, the copyright, but we have the right, and the salon has the right to publish your image. How do you choose a salon to participate in? You know, I don't have an answer for you on that. I would say the simplest thing is, what do you like to photograph? I have friends who they love to do photo travel. That's all they really want to do. They don't want to do anything else. So they look for salons that have photo travel categories. And within photo travel, they might have photo travel people, they might have photo travel cities, they might have photo travel locations, or open, which is anything goes. So I would say, look at yourself and what you are photographing and what do you like to photograph. I personally enter almost everything. So I do a little bit of everything. What's the difference between PSA, FIAP, GPU, and salons? Well, each of them have slightly different requirements. Between PSA and FIAP, we have come to an agreement that we have similar requirements, and we are working with GPU to include them in our agreement. So you will find that there might be a slight difference in some of the requirements, but that overall the differences are so minimal, they're almost identical. So I wouldn't worry too much about that as a difference. Why sometimes a photo that receives a gold medal on salon is totally rejected in another? Well, you can't have a standard yardstick for judges. They have their own whims, their own fancies, what they like, what they don't like, what they've been trained in. They come with a whole background of photographic experience. And that's why we have 3 judges in each category. Photography and judging is not subjective. You can't have this ruler that you have to stand up to. We basically say that, is this image that you are looking at, is it something that you think is so good, so worthy that it should get a medal? Or is it something that, well, it's not quite a medal, but it's really good, so it should get an acceptance? Or, you know, it's missing some parts or some quality to it, and we can't give it an acceptance. So those are kind of the yardsticks that we try to use as judges. And it is difficult, but please keep in mind that it is a subjective process. And I have had gold medals on an image and had it rejected in another. So I know what that's like. Some photos within one circuit can have very different points in its different salons, can win a gold medal one, not even accept in another. And as I just mentioned, yes, this is exactly what I just talked on. We try very diligently to encourage the salons to have a diverse judging team so that they come with a diverse and wide background as they look at the images. And that's the best we can do at this point. Where do I find the list of salons? Well, within the PSA website, if you go to psa-photo.com, psa-photo.org, it's org, not com, and you go to exhibitions, it'll have closed exhibitions or current exhibitions. You click on current, and there'll be a drop-down menu that says, you know, do you want open color? Do you want nature? And click on one of those, and you'll get the whole list for that month and the future months if you want. And you can read about them. You can click on their websites, and you can find out as much as you want about them. That's how I do it. After you've entered a lot of salons, you get on a mailing list, and they send them to you directly if you want them. Once I've used the titles for stars, can I use the titles in the next salon? Well, stars have requirements that you can only use certain titles for certain amounts, depending on which level you're working on. Those are spelled out in the stars and ROPA under the PSA website. And I would highly suggest you read through that. If you're looking for just medals and you have one great image and you keep entering it and you keep getting gold medals, that's fine. But that title will cannot be used for a lot of stars or galaxies or ROPA distinctions. What we're trying to encourage is you to have a larger portfolio of images. And if you're a good photographer, you can translate your images into almost any of the categories that we have. Can I use the same titles at the same club, which organize many different salons? You can use them in your club all the time. That is a club problem or a club requirement. Clubs can determine how many times you can use your image. Organizers prefer not to have the same image used all the time. We really like to see different images in different salons. How many stars in ROPA system really work? Well, as I tried to mention earlier, every acceptance gets put into a file by you. And when you reach a certain number of acceptances and a certain number of different titles, you can apply for a ROPA distinction. For instance, if you want to get a star rating of 1, it's 6 different titles with 3 acceptances each, or 18 acceptances. Star 2 is 6 additional titles, 6 different titles with 12 acceptances, or 36 acceptances in total. And as this goes on and on, when you reach a certain level for ROPA, for instance, if you want to get your QPSA, you have to have 75 acceptances. So that's how this works. And each of the different ROPA levels adds to it until you get up to GMPSA Platinum, which is 11,000 acceptances. So you can work your way through this process. You get to put this behind your name, and when you, on your card or when you sign something, this is a distinction that everyone realizes how much work and effort and how great your photographic achievement is. So that's what that's all about. Here's an example. As I mentioned earlier, here is the star ratings and how you get through the stars, the galaxies, and eventually diamonds. And you can see if you get to diamond 10, that's 75 new titles, 6 acceptances each, for a total of 5,163 acceptances. So here are the levels for QPSA. 54 for QPSA, 288 for PPSA, EPSA is 700, MPSA is 1500, and on down to GMPSA, which is Grand Master Platinum, 11,000. Does winning an image in a salon help you bring value to my photographs if I sell them at the gallery? Well, you know what? I think any gallery wants to know that you have obviously some talent, and just coming in with some photographs and say, hey, I'm a photographer, these are the images I have. If you can come in and say, here's a gold medal that I won on this image, and I am a MPSA photographer, meaning that I have 1,500 acceptances worldwide, I think that that carries a lot more weight than just coming in and here's some images for you to look at. So with that, I hope I've tried to answer a lot of the questions that have been brought up. Again, if you have more, you can get a hold of Stephen, and I'm sure he will pass them along to me. I hope you enjoy this festival, and I am certainly thankful that I am been able to be a part of it, and thank the Asian Photo Festival and Stephen in particular for inviting me to be here. So thank you.